lockdown.
Ay, lockdown iri ya re babalela ka
a re tsweleng pele re no re keepeng social distance, re khupetšeng nko le molomo, a ke re sanitize le ska sanitize le hlapeng le matsogo hle bana. Mokgwantse lena le complaina mare ga tswele le bolaya ke eng gona bjale ka re letšatši le a fiša.
Mama na re mo phone nngwe ile re light lady aircon.
No, re a leboga.
Thank you.
Honorable
with you guys. Honorable Joshua, we
reila o pusha di bicycle tša bana ka monte. Ngwana wena a kopo e ka re go just di-toy. Shu pusha di bicycle tša bana nna re go thoma meeting ka.
Meja kwa mkaya. Eza kare meja kwa waka kwa tani. Yeah.
Good morning, honorable members. Can I call for order so that we start with the proceedings of the House?
Good morning, Deputy Speaker.
Morning, Deputy Speaker.
Morning.
Which speaker?
Order. Thank you. Can you have somebody who's having his radio or TV on to switch it off? It's interrupting the proceedings. Are there any motions without notice in terms of House Rule 145? None. Honorable Mphahlele.
Morning. Honorable Speaker.
Yes, good morning.
I greet all members of the legislature. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House note. Honorable Speaker, as we just concluded Women's Month, the EFF in Limpopo would like to salute the role played by women in our society. The EFF in Limpopo also lower its banner in honor of those who lost their lives due to gender-based violence. We urge government to present a clear plan to help survivors of the GBV and child-headed families apart from the grants which are distributed through SASSA. What are measures in place beyond Women's Month to ensure that campaigns of the GBV are sustained? Has the government established safe houses for women who are victims of GBV, especially during this COVID-19 era? Can this house be updated if there is any register of offenders, especially the high-profile people who often use their powers to frustrate the marginalized? Honorable Speaker, we urge this honorable House to create a pledge which will be signed by all members that they will not partake into gender-based violence. Furthermore, we request the Department of Health to update the House if they have participated in the scheme of forceful coerced sterilization of innocent women. Are there any plans for continuous reproductive health awareness in communities? Has the provincial government considered empowerment programs for domestic workers who are at the core of caring for families? Honorable Speaker, a report and participation of women in mining will be important to this August House. The EFF is against the oppression of anyone based on their gender expression, or sexual orientation. The EFF is against patriarchy.
Honorable member, your time for the motion is expired.
Honor homophobia and all its manifestation. The EFF strives for liberation of women from all chains which have disadvantaged women through various intercourse. I so move. Thank you.
Any seconder to the motion? Honorable Seshoka.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I stand to second the motion as presented by Honorable Mphatlane.
Thank you very much. Are there any motions without notice?
Honorable Speaker.
Or Honorable Shmali?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Just due to technologies, I'm just using Honorable Marage's computer. We've got IT problems this side. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I rise on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes the embarrassment that the Thalana and Burgersfort Extension 10 low-cost housing project cost this Honorable House, that Premier Matabata's decision to include this project into the SIU investigations was just a knee-jerk reaction, that no terms of reference for the investigation has been made public, and yet again the lack of transparency prevails. It is shameful that no one involved in the approval of this project is prepared to take accountability for the tin sacks without running water, sanitation and electricity to the 40 families at Thalana now have to occupy. Moreover, now that this project in Burgersfort Extension 10 has been stopped, there is looting on the building site and the department can ready itself for penalties in terms of their contractual obligations with the service provider. Honorable Speaker, the ancient saying, haste make waste, could not be more befitting in the implementation of this project. Despite the procurement laws being relaxed during the epidemic, the project was rushed, processed, ignored implementation, and recorded, and that the tin shack so solidly built, it begs the question why a 17 million rand project was finalized within a period of 10 days. We trust that the SIU investigations will provide the answers and that these answers will be made public. As I move. Thank you.
Can you have any seconder to the motion?
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Maraj.
I, Risham Maraj, hereby second the motion by Honorable Spallan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's four motions and then.
Honorable Sishoka. Are there any further motions without notice? Honorable Sishoka, I see your hand up. Honorable Maharaj?
I don't have any motion.
I see your hand up. Okay, thank you very much. We move to item 3. Are there any notices of motion in terms of House Rule 146? None. Are there any statement by members? Honorable Maharaj?
Honorable
Who's that? Honorable Manganye. Let's start with Honorable Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Chair, the Democratic Alliance notes that due to recent allegations and claims of corruption, misuse of funds, and political interference in the awarding of tender contracts related to COVID-19 spending, the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been vocal against it and has even described COVID-19 corruption as an unforgivable betrayal. Premier Matabatsa himself has also said he took allegations of corruption seriously when he asked the SIU to investigate these claims around COVID-19 spending. Given the current mood and sentiment in the province around allegations of corruption, the DA reiterates our call that we have put forward in writing to the Premier that the Premier, his MECs, their spouses, and the HODs are all subjected to independent lifestyle audits to ensure that the people tasked and entrusted to lead our response to COVID-19 are not involved in corrupt activity and are beyond reproach. Undergoing lifestyle audits will send the right message to the people of Limpopo and show how serious Premier Matabatsa and his executive take the allegations and scourge of corruption, some of them leveled against members of his executive. The Limpopo executive needs to show a commitment to fighting this unethical behavior. Honourable Speaker, in the Western Cape, the Premier, MECs and their spouses were subjected to lifestyle audits and were also found to live a lifestyle in line with their incomes. The Gauteng Premier has also recently announced and committed to his executive being subjected to a lifestyle audit. Will Premier Matabatsa also follow suit, given the increasing allegation of COVID-19 corruption? If not, why not?
Thank you very much, Honorable Manganye.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Member statement by the EFF. Honorable Speaker, security at public health facilities in Limpopo is a serious challenge while the lives of patients and health workers are seriously in danger. The Limpopo Hospital has become the worst hospital to work for, while equally has become the worst health facility in terms of the safety of health workers and patients. Just last month, a violent patient insulted and physically attacked doctors and nurses at the hospital, calling them all sorts of names. Patients, doctors, and nurses ran for their dear lives while the attacker was on rampage, swearing at doctors and nurses. A second incident is when a violent patient slapped a female doctor after verbally abusing her countless times, and the trauma was just unbearable. We have a video clip of this incident, and it is traumatizing to watch. When security officers in the hospital are called upon to intervene, they just came and watch and do nothing. The EFF has received a number of complaints from the public in recent times on the issue of security in public health facilities in the province. Is the department waiting for a doctor, nurse, patient, and other workers in our hospitals and clinics to die before they can address the issue of safety and security in our public health care facilities? By the way, this is the same government that only acts after people have taken to the streets to protest on issues of service delivery and other related state failures. The health workers and patients in public institutions are our brothers and sisters. If you do not love them, you must know that we do love them. They deserve to work in a secure and safe environment as discharge their duties on a daily basis. We call upon the MEC of Health to investigate this matter and provide lasting solution in order to ensure that safety of all our people at Limpopo Hospital. Likewise.
Thank you very much. Are there any further statements by members?
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Smaller.
Honourable Smaller.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Once again, my apologies on the IT. August has not been the best month for MEC for corporate governance, Honourable Makamo. While we just dealt with the Talana and Burgers Fort issue, on the 13th of August 2020, the Bosveld Review published the execution of sale of all movable property of the Mogalakwena municipality, based on a judgment from the Limpopo High Court to an amount of 5.2 million rand. The attached property included most vehicles, bakkies and trucks, as well as all office equipment, chairs and computers, basically rendering the municipality unable to provide services. It seems as if the administrator, Mr. Frans Basilo, so appointed by the MEC Makuma, in terms of Section 139 in December 2019, was either oblivious to the case or he buried his head in the sand and hoped that it will just go away. While the troubles did not go away, they are now greater to proportion and will now exacerbate the financial implications of this embattled municipality. Back in September 2019, the Democratic Alliance requested the Minister Dlamini Zuma to investigate the 1.17 billion rand irregular, fruitless and wasteful and unauthorized expenditure. On request, it would seem that it has felt on deaf ears. Can the MEC or will the MEC, are you, sir, going to be able to put forward the forensic report and table the forensic report to the 1.17 billion rand of wasted, misappropriated and stolen monies at this specific municipality and hold officials accountable, as well as members of council? And when will the MEC table this forensic report? And what is the MEC's plans to turn around this bankrupt municipality? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Smiley. Are there any further statements? If none, can I give the opportunity to members of the Executive Council to respond? MECs, if they're there. No response?
Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to raise my hand. I don't know whether you are able to see it. MEC Makamo.
I've seen it now. I've seen it now. Thanks. You can proceed.
Yeah, I think I'm also, my video is also clear now.
Yeah,
Thanks,
okay.
Honorable Speaker. I have listened and understood what was raised on the issue of Talani and the sheikhs and the premier's intention to take the project to SIU. And I think the honorable member raised the issue. It's a member of the portfolio committee. But I think we should correct first that the project is not costing.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, point of order.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I know that the MEC is trying to respond to a motion, but my member statement, which the MEC has got a full right to respond on, has got everything to do with Mogalakwena municipality, and I would argue that that you guide the minister of the MEC in this regard. Thank you. Thank you.
MEC, you respond only on the Mkhalak when it has a statement, not the motions as presented.
Okay, Honorable Speaker, but the figures were not correct. But I will leave it and take your guidance. The issue of the legal battles in Mukhalakwana, it is true that there has been a court case which was running where the municipality was unable to pay a service provider. The matter has been long and the court judgment was given. But I should be able to indicate that the administrator was able to act swiftly. There is nothing that has been executed in the municipality or able to be sold so that the municipality cannot be able to render its services. We were able to intervene and the service provider paid, and the matter is still under investigation why it was not paid at a particular time. So the matter is receiving a serious attention by the administrator, and I have had a one-to-one report on the matter as I got it from the media about the execution of the court order. But I must also indicate, Honorable Speaker, that when we made an intervention through the EXCO resolution, there were a number of forensic investigations which were conducted by the municipality, and we were able to make it our point that they get to be adopted by council. And I can report now that the reports have been adopted by council. And we are doing everything in that municipality to make sure, as I'm speaking, Honorable Speaker, there are not less than 7 officials of the municipality which are under suspension, right from the accounting officer to people who were found to be doing something wrong within the supply chain management process. So I can say that there is nobody who is oblivious of his responsibility. We are intact, we are progressing. I think the legislature will be able to get a report on the progress made up to so far through the intervention that we have made through the EXCO resolution in terms of section 1391B. So the matter is within control and there is a progress. The people are starting to receive services and the municipality is starting to perform as expected. Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC Makamo. Can we take on MEC Pobrema Tuba? Honorable Ramatuba, are you there? Your mic is on mute.
Okay, now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We have noted what the Honorable Member from EFF has raised on the issue regarding security in our facilities, which Honorable Members will remember that it has become a real problem and a real threat towards delivery of healthcare services. We have noted the incident that is being reported to have happened a month ago. We are busy currently investigating it because with all our executives, that matter has not specifically been reported to them. We will definitely, after investigating, report back. But we also need to indicate here that the public itself has become a threat to our staff in order to provide healthcare services. And we want to reiterate what we've always said. Security in a health facility becomes very complex and difficult. The very same person who is being alleged of threatening our staff in casualty, it happens to be a patient. And what do we really expect from the security that are armed? To come and shoot the patient, it becomes another problem. So we are saying that we are appealing to honorable members, especially even the political parties, because on a day-to-day basis, especially now that alcohol ban has been uplifted, what we see in our trauma unit here,
when people come with under influence of alcohol, intoxicated, they are the ones who assault and threaten our staff. And we can't chase them from the hospital because they are our patients. These are the people who are coming to seek healthcare, but they still threaten our life. Even our languages as political parties, sometimes when we speak in the public, the language that we use, we really need to be conscious and extra careful, because when you blame the staff for something that has happened, the community begin to develop attitude with even hatred towards the very same staff. So when they come to the hospital, they've already made a conclusion that I'm going to show them, because I have heard honorable member from so and so party saying in this hospital, the staff has got a horrible attitude. So I'm just saying to all members that we've seen what happened in Musina when the whole community went to take out the professional nurse who end up resigning. And this is a very high skilled oncology nurse. She could not take it anymore. So we are saying the public itself, which depend on us for healthcare services, has become a threat to the very same healthcare services. So all of us here have got a responsibility. No amount of resources that can be pumped on security will be able to deal with this issue of security in our facilities. But it will take all of us here to go out and talk to the people that voted for us, to call upon them to start to love the staff member. As honorable member has rightfully so said it, if we love all our staff members, let's make sure that all our community love and protect our healthcare workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comment or any further response on the member statements? There's one on the lifestyle audit. Is the leader of government business here? Honorable Squad. If none, we'll proceed. Hello?
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Squad.
Thank you, Chair. I thought some were actually comments which did not necessarily seek to be responded to. For instance, the issue of a lifestyle audit. It's not a matter that it needs to be raised within the legislature, because we as a party have already taken a decision that all leaders of the party, including those that have been deployed into various areas of authority, are going to be subjected to lifestyle audits, and therefore it cannot as well be based on the issue of PPEs, because lifestyle audit is far beyond the PPEs corruption. So I thought the member was just making, a passing comment and not necessarily something that needed to be responded to. Thank you.
Honorable Premier, your mic it's on mute. Honorable Premier, your mic is on mute. Hey, Honorable Premier, I see your hand is up, but your mic is on mute. Yeah, you are paralyzing. Honorable Premier, your mic is on mute, and I see your hand is up. And the Premier hear me? I'm not sure. Yes. Honorable Premier, now we can hear you. Yeah. Honorable Premier. Oh, Honorable Nkoyan.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I tried to speak to the Honorable Premier. Apparently, his line is quite very bad. I don't know whether, if possible, we can pass. And then if there is a need for response. Oh, he's there now. Okay, thanks.
He's back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. He has disappeared again.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Hello.
Honorable Speaker, we can advise that they kill cameras. They remain with only the voice.
My line is very bad. You can pass, Honorable Speaker.
No, but we can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say on the issue of lifestyle audit.
Oh, gosh.
The honorable member from the DA would tell you that they also, as a have already taken a decision on that matter. But
yeah, the line is really bad.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I suggest that we take the Honorable Premier's advice that we pass in, because surely the line is very bad.
Honorable Premier, can we
don't
pass
want to do it as a box? Yeah, I think so. No, I think so. My line, maybe let's just pass it.
Yeah, your line it's bad. Maybe at some point we'll give you an opportunity to respond to the member.
No, it's fine, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
Okay. No, thank you very much for those responses. Are there any executive statements in terms of Rule 201? If none, are there any tabling of reports or other reports? Oh, Honorable Squaddy.
Honorable Speaker, I raised my hand also. MEC Morag.
Yeah, I was worried because I just saw MEC. Okay, MEC Moraga.
Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the African National Congress, led government in this August House to give progress report on the House resolutions for the financial year 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016, and 2016, 2017 financial years for the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
Honorable MEC, we're coming to that. If you can give us an opportunity, because we've got to adopt the reports first and then you come in.
I thought you called for executive member
statements. Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Like giving a report on the resolutions of the House.
I was duly advised that I needed to use the opportunity of the executive member statement to present progress to all the SCOPA resolutions that are the House resolutions to the August House.
I don't know who advised you, but can you give us an opportunity to adopt the reports first, and then you will be given an opportunity to come in. If you look at the program, it gives opportunities for MECs to come in at some point.
Okay, thanks, Speaker.
No, you're welcome. I saw Honorable Squati earlier raising his hand. Was it?
Thanks, we may pass, Honorable Speaker.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go to orders of the day. Consideration and adoption of the following reports of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. Committee Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance audit of Vote 1, Office of the Premier for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder? Who's seconding? I don't see any hand up now.
Makrupechi.
Honorable Makrupechi.
Mama Krupechi, I stand to second the move by the chairperson of SCOPA.
Thank you very much. 712, chairperson, just continue, chairperson. Will second, as we second, you proceed to the next one.
No, thank you, Speaker. Must I just go with all of the?
No, we go to 7.1.2. We second, 7.1.3, we second.
Okay. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, present the report of the Auditor General to the Limpopo Provincial Legislature on the financial statements and performance information for Vote 3, Department of Education for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder?
I second.
Oh, who's that? Honorable Pala, you're seconding?
Yes, I seconded already.
Thank you.
As per your instruction.
All right. Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance audit of Vote 4, Department of Agriculture and Rural Development for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Radzlani.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second the report as presented by Honorable Chairperson Ntile.
Thank you. Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wishes to present the report of the Auditor General to the Legislature of the financial statements and performance information of Vote 5, Department of Provincial Treasury for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Honorable Makrupechi. Oh, there's others. Sorry. Honorable Mato.
I second Chair. I Joshua Mato here by second the Honorable Chair of the SCOPA said.
Thank you. Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wishes to present the report of the Auditor General on the
no. Honorable Mtileni, now you are frozen. I know it's very cold out there. We can't hear you anymore. Or you have muted your mic.
Oh, my apologies, Chair. Can I proceed and present the next one?
Yes.
No, thanks. I was at
1.5.
We are on the debt, and now we are going to have. Can I proceed?
The debt one, we didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Let go back. I was on Goodman Mtileni present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and the performance information of Vote 6, Limpopo Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any second, Honorable Kekana?
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I, Nakedi Kekana, rise to second the report as presented by Honorable Mutileni. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair?
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wishes to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and performance audit.
Honorable Mtileni, there's something wrong with you're muted again.
My apologies, it's the network challenges. But I was already moving for the Department of Health for the financial year 2017-2018.
Any second, Honorable Mate?
Yes, Chair, I, Simon Mate, hereby second the report as presented by Honorable Wisani Goodman Mtileni.
Okay, let's proceed.
I, Wisani Goodman, present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance information of Vote 8 Department of Transport for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Siono?
Thanks very much, Chairperson. I raise my hand to second the report as presented by the SCOPA Chairperson. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Chair?
Thank you. On the financial state information of Vote 9 Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Macro?
Thanks, I, Joshua Mato, here by second the report is presented by Honorable Chair of SCOPA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to present the report of the Auditor General of South Africa on the financial statements and performance information of vote 10 community safety for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any second, Honorable Makrupeche?
Deputy Speaker, I hereby support and second the motion by the chairperson of SCOPA.
All right, Chair.
Thank you.
I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance information of Vote 11, Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Razlan?
Razlani.
Honorable Mudaka, if you are near.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I'm Falazam Daga, hereby second the move by the chairperson of SCOPA, Honorable Mtileni.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance information of Vote 12 Social Development for the financial year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Mahasara?
Mahasela.
If she's far, can we have Honorable Razlan?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I, Caroline Rice, to second the motion by the Honorable Mtileni. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Chair?
Thank you, Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General to the Legislature on the financial statement and performance information of Vote 13, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for the year 2017-2018. I so move.
Any second, Honorable Razlan?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I raise my hand to second the report as presented by the chairperson of SCOPA. Thanks.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Speaker. I will need your guidance because I take it that we are done with 2017-2018. Can I proceed with the departments for 2018-2019?
2018-2019.
No. Let me see. What I have here, you are going to present a report on Gateway Airports Authority now, 7.1.13.
Those are the entities, Honorable Speaker. The members are prepared to come and debate about the.
Yes, no, you're right. You're right. The entities are for the next sitting.
Okay, so can I proceed to the next financial year in that case?
Yeah, let's do that.
No. Thank you, the Honorable Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance audit of Vote 1, Office of the Premier for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Phala?
I, Phala KR, take this opportunity to second the motion as tabled by the Honorable Committee Chairperson, Honorable Wisani Goodman Mtileni. I move it, Honorable Speaker. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and the performance information of both through Department of Education for the 2018-2019 financial year. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Siono.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I raise my hand to second the report as presented by the SCOPA chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair.
Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wish to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and the performance audit of vote for Department of Agriculture and Rural Development for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Razilani, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I second the report as presented by the chairperson of SCOPA, Honorable Mtile.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, wishes to present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and the performance information of Vote 5, Department of Provincial Treasury for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Munchadi.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I, Sikutu Monica Muchadi, raise my hand to support the motion presented by the Honorable Wisani Mtileni, the chairperson of SCOPA. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to present the report of the Auditor General to the Legislature on the financial statement and the performance information of Vote 6, Limpopo Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
And seconder, Honorable Marcel.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I, Caroline Mahasela, raise my hand to second the motion as presented by Honorable Mtileng, chairperson of SCOPA. I move accordingly. Thanks.
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, hereby present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and the performance audit of Vote 7, Department of Health for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Makrupeja.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. I hereby support that we are approved and the recommendation chairperson of SCOPA.
Yeah, Honorable Makrupeja seconds. The move. Yes. Honorable Mtileni.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, hereby present the report of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and performance information of Vote 8, Department of Transport for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Kekana.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I, Nakedike, can rise to second the report as presented by Honorable Mutileni. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and the performance information of Vote 9, Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Matlou.
Yeah, Speaker, I also Joshua Mato hereby second what the Honorable Mutiredi has presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Gutman Mtileni, hereby present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and the performance information of Ward 10 Community Safety for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Muchari.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I, Sukutu Monica Muchadi, rise to second the presentation of the report by the chairperson of the SCOPA, Honorable Wisani Mtileni. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, hereby present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements and the performance information of Ward 11, Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
I'm sorry, my mic was on mute, Honorable Mate.
we can see your battle with that mic on this video.
Yeah. Can you second then?
Yeah, now we understand it's old age. I, Honorable Simon Mazubana Mate, duly second the motion as presented by Honorable Wisani Goodman Mutile.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, the Honorable the Speaker. I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, hereby present the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement and the performance information of Ward 12 Social Development for the financial year 2018-2019. I move accordingly.
Any seconder? Honorable Marcella.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I, Matlodi Caroline Marcella, raise my hand to second the report by Honorable Mtileni, Chairperson of SCOPA. I move accordingly. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Speaker, I, Wisani Goodman Mtileni, present the report of the Auditor General to the Limpopo Legislature on the financial statement and the performance information of Ward 13, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for the financial year 2018-2019. I so move.
Any seconder, Honorable Mdaka?
Nakhensa Deputy Speaker, mina falazam daka ni takala ku Secretary Honorable Mtileni ka report le bangai move ko adoptive.
Thank you. Unless anybody wants translation, we can provide that, but let's proceed. Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair. Honorable Mtileni.
Honorable Chair.
He's gone.
It seems it was the last report.
Yeah, but he can't disappear. He must
Indicate.
Oh, the last one.
Speaker,
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what I said. Transition. No, thank you very much.
Of SCOPA. Yes. Honorable Speaker. That was
yeah, we can't hear. It's breaking.
Second financial year.
There's a network problem where you are. We can't
Honorable, you can't hear me.
Now we can hear you slightly now. Yeah.
Yes.
You're gone again. You're gone again. We can't hear you. Shall we proceed? We can't hear you.
Honorable Speaker, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying that that was the last report on the part of the departments on the second financial year. So we are done with moving the reports. Thanks.
Yeah, I think there was a problem of language. Some of us I understand. It means the last one. Go ahead, we shall now refer to the speakers list. We shall now refer to the speakers list. We will have Honorable Rudolph Pala.
Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker. I thought I'm on the second batch. There is actually the first batch of the speakers. If you want me to proceed, I can proceed.
Apology. No, you're right. You're correct. Honorable Joshua Matlow.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to Honorable Premier, Honorable members of the Executive Council present here, the Honorable Deputy Speaker and colleagues. Honorable Chair, as a member of the SCOPA, a concern to note, one is that they are the departments are intentionally failing to implement resolutions of the committee. The departments fail to implement recommendations year after year. There is a culture in departments of failing to implement the SCOPA resolutions, as officials are confident that failure to implement will not result in any consequence. There is a constant failure to implement the SCOPA resolutions dating back to 2014, Honorable Chair. Recommendations are always put forward, but there is no will to implement them. Year after year, SCOPA recommends measures that would improve the departments and take it to higher ground. However, actions by certain senior officials in the departments clearly indicates there is absolute no will to do that because of dysfunctional system work well for them. On stagnation of the audit outcome and poor financial management, Honorable Speaker, as the list you have seen, I will only speak to 2 or 3 departments. The Department of Education's audit outcome has been on a stagnant position of a qualified audit opinion with matters of emphasis in 2016-17, 2017-18 financial year. The following matters are listed as matters of emphasis. 1, expenditure management, material underspending of the budget, material misstatement in the preparation of the annual financial statement, your AFS. As a result, the Department of Education failed to achieve unqualified audit opinion without matters from the Auditor General of South Africa, the AGS. This suggests that those who are assigned with the responsibility of either failing to do their work or intentionally ensuring the system failed for their own benefit. Therefore, by failing our political hit, our MECs. This does not seem to be any will to train them in cases where the training is recommended. There is no will to take corrective action in cases where there is clear that people are neglecting their duties. I'm sorry. In short, year after year, there is no consequence management in the department despite evidence on the table. All movable and immovable tangible capital assets. The following were particular highlights with regard to the management of assets in the department. There is evidence that the department did not recognize all items of movable tangible capital asset in accordance to MCS Chapter 1, the capital assets. The department incorrectly recognized movable tangible capital assets which have been completed as capital work in progress in note number 31 of the financial statement. Movable tangible assets are understated by 3.7 billion, which exactly is 3.748249178 billion. Assets of the department are not properly accounted for. This is very serious given the fact that the money has been spent on assets such as the mobile classes and other infrastructure. This is very important. This is very important given that many mobile classes, Honorable Speaker, were purchased more during the unrest in Bembe when schools were banned. It was disclosed in the financial statement that immovable tangible capital asset of 2.5 billion is under investigation due to process of to dispose of deteriorated assets and to transfer completed project costs to the Department of Public Works, Road and Infrastructure. Mobile classes which were identified to be in poor conditions and capital expenditure that will need to be allocated to that affected asset. Irregular compensation of employees in the department to the tune of more than 21 million. The level of recklessness with public money is astonishing, Honorable Speaker. It was recommended that the department should request Provincial Treasury to train all employees who deal with movable and movable tangible capital asset as a matter of agency so that the officials should address this anomaly and prevent future recurrence. In cases where such instances are a way of siphoning public funds, serious investigation should be conducted and action taken against officials responsible. The Department of Education incurred frivolous and wasteful expenditure amounting to 194,450,000. However, the balance of the frivolous and wasteful expenditure at the end of 2017-18 financial year amounted only to 393,641,000. The department made payment in contravention to the supply chain management requirements, resulting in irregular expenditure of 957,086,000, whereby in 2017 it was sitting at 630,403,000, as disclosed in note 24 to the financial statements. Goods and services of transaction value above 500,000 were procured without inviting competitive bidders as required by Treasury Regulation 16A.6.1 and 16A.6.4. Similar non-compliance was also reported in the prior year. Persons in service of the department whose close family members, partners, and associates have a private or business interest in contracts awarded by the department fail to close such interest as required by Treasury Regulation of 16A.8.4. Generally, the department effective steps are not taken to prevent irregular expenditure as required by Section 38(1)(c), subsection I of the PFMA and Treasury Regulation 9.1.1. The majority of the irregular expenditure was caused by the non-compliance with the applicable supply chain management legislation. The MEC has the overall executive power should exercise the responsibility given to her. Any cent lost is a betrayal to the millions who look upon this government as their trusted ally in achieving a better life for their children. Money lost, stolen, misappropriated, no differ to spitting on the face of a black child whose future depends on this very department. Or Speaker, on assets, the House should be informed that there is considered evidence that the management of the department was failing to physically locate assets to the value of 186,625,583. Accounting records were drafted in a manner that the Auditor General was unable to identify the full extent of the understatement of movable tangible assets. This is unacceptable because we have the department as a capable staff to handle accounting records. The understatement was at the value of 2,157,477,000 in 2015, and in 16 it was at 2,130,630. 2,130,630,000 in the financial statements of the department. We must also tell the House that the Auditor General identified a variance of 881,406,930 rand on valuation of movable tangible assets. On significant uncertainties, the committee is concerned about the litigation that take long to be solved in the Department of Health. On top of that, the department promised that the litigation are winnable, and on the day of judgment is presented, the results were in favor of the complainant. Money used to pay the litigation, which were always not in the favor of the department, could have been used to deliver tangible services to our communities. The committee should be harsh on the winnable and prolonged litigation to put the cost of the legal services of the department going forward. The accounting officer should take appropriate action on the responsibility of personnel who ill-advise the department on a regular expenditure. It is important that the accounting officer developed a plan on the implementation of the Public Finance Management Act. The committee is perturbed that the accounting officer was unable to take effective steps to prevent the occurrence of irregular expenditure amounting to 165,956,000. This was as a result of not following the proper tender procedure and overtime payment to personnel in excess of 30%. How do you pay overtime to personnel who neglect their duties, and always there is misstatement, understatement, and overstatements? The taxpayers' money is not put on proper use. Committees have given us a mandate to take care of their funds and also to meet the expectation in terms of service delivery. If we fail to do that, our conscience will tell us that we are owing them an apology. The recommendations, lastly, Honorable Speaker, the recommendations that the accounting officer take appropriate action against responsible personnel will be monitored severely by the committee. I so move. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matlo. We'll then move to the next speaker, Honorable Smali Jacobash.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and members of the House and the Executive. Government spending affects everyone in Limpopo. It is in every citizen's best interest to know where the money comes from and how that is spent. The role of SCOPA is to exercise oversight over the provincial and local governments on behalf of the Limpopo government, to ensure accountability, to utilize those resources, and to make sure that prudent financial management does take place. The role is to complement it by the Auditor General, whose mandate is to conduct audits of national and provincial state departments. In particular, our citizens want to know how much is being spent on what, and does government effectively manage its resources towards bettering our society. Honourable Speaker, The buck stops with SCOPA and this House, and we as the committee must be ashamed that we have not achieved our mandate, especially in the times when the fiscus is under enormous strain, as it is ultimately our job to ensure that each rand given is spent for the purpose it was allocated and in prudent manner. We have, however, must give recognition where it is needed and welcome the fact that some financial statements has improved. However, when scrutinizing most of these statements, it is unfortunately paints a bleak picture of a province in disrepair and unable to hold high-ranking officials and accounting officers accountable. Never before has the Public Accounts Committee had to send back department after department back for not preparing for the hearings or deliberately withholding information from the committee and thus attempting to exonerate themselves from accountability and allowing the Portfolio Committee to effectively do oversight over the entity. I must thank my colleagues on the committee that never lost focus and at times sat in a boardroom until the majority of each of the department's internal controls were in total disorder and made it difficult to audit by the Auditor General. This is therefore not surprising that the Auditor General's submissions reads as follows, quote unquote, the review of the monitoring of the financials and performing reporting by the accounting officers is inadequate. The department did not prepare regular, accurate, and complete financial and performing reports. Management's ineffectiveness in implementing recommendations from the internal and external auditors, as well as inaccurate and unreliable financials and performance reports submitted, prevented the audited committee to evaluate and monitor response to risk in the order to promote accountability and service delivery. To facilitate sustainable change, the lack of discipline in controls needs to be addressed and a decisive commitment must be made to effective these consequences. The Limpopo provincial financials outlook is bleak. The province has incurred a total of 252 million unauthorized expenditure, 11.9 billion in irregular expenditure, and 595 million in fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The province has also racked up 13.3 billion rand of contingent liabilities, including pending lawsuits, as well as a 1.96 billion rand in accruals and accounts payable. We are deeply concerned by the ailing financial health of the province departments and its entities. SCOPA resolutions, good financial management practices, and consequence management needs to be strictly implemented to protect the province's fiscus. The entities should also stop receiving bailouts and become self-sustaining. Honourable Premier, Honourable Speaker, this House can make resolution after resolution, and as well as the executive authority does not have the, let me repeat myself, Honourable Premier, this House can make one resolution after another. But if this executive authority does not have the political will and the administrative will to enforce discipline and controls, the 2 million unemployed job seekers in Limpopo will very soon implode from 44% to half of our population. Service delivery protests will become the norm, and the collapse of government institutions will be an inevitable result. The PFMA creates a statutory framework and imposes significant obligations on the accounting authority in public institutions. The obligations to prevent irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure and losses that results from criminal conduct and non-compliance with operational policies of the public entity and that of government is not being implemented. Honourable Premier, an official can do business with state without getting approval. Officials do not have to comply with preference point systems, and in one department alone, 1.7 billion rand was allocated without following the preference point systems. Officials do not have to comply with the bidding process. Officials do not have to safeguard state property. For example, vehicles, trailers, laptops can be stolen. Contractors can receive advance payments of up to 33 million rand without starting a project in Lepalale, and the Bid Adjudication Committee can only approve one service provider and reject 100 applications. These are some of the examples why officials can act without impunity, as they know the only sanction will be a written warning, or maybe the entity will lodge a formal investigation that will be exonerated by the officials of that same department. Honourable Speaker, many times it's proven that the executive will only act once
Honourable Member, one minute left.
Recommendations. Thank you, Junkin. All right. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Let's proceed. We'll have Honourable Joseph Butane. Your 7 minutes starts now.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I will stand in on behalf of Honourable Butani.
Okay.
Thank you. Honourable, greetings to Honourable Speaker, the Premier, Member of Executive Council, and all the Honourable members in the August House. Honourable Speaker, corruption, mismanagement, and maladministration are the order of the day in the current government of the ANC. Corruption is embedded in the agenda such that there is no mention of ANC without mentioning the word corruption. It is hard to separate the two because they are a finger and a nail. But equally, the ANC has proven since 1994 that they do not know how to govern regardless of political power they attain. The word good governance is not something that they are familiar with, as evident from the Auditor General report. First, it is noteworthy that the notorious office of the Premier has failed to lead by example by failing to table SCOPA resolution in the House for 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017 financial years. By the way, this is the same department that is supposed to play a coordinating role to all departments. Furthermore, the office of the Premier has been in stagnant position obtaining unqualified audit outcome with matters of emphasis for the 3 years in question. And this is the same department that is supposed to guide and assist other departments and their entities to perform well with their finances. It is clear that the department in this province do not have a leader and a coordinating department. The office of the Premier is a big disappointment and cannot be trusted with any. Hence, department continue to perform so badly. Despite the audit findings against the department like education, health, Cox and Treasury, no audit action plan are drafted to address these findings. These anomalies keep on recurring over and over with the little money left for service delivery because the money would have been wasted through fruitless and wasteful expenditure as well as unauthorized expenditure. Honourable Speaker, the investigation are conducted, but reports are never presented before the SCOPA and this House. We call upon all the departments with outstanding investigation to present the reports in this House before the end of September. These reports must be prioritized in order to appraise the members of this House on the content of such reports. The time to delay, hide reports, or block them from being presented to SCOPA and this House for accountability is over. During this year in question, the Department of Education incurred an irregular expenditure of 957 million rands, while 630 million of this expenditure was incurred in 2017 only. There are a lot of shenanigans in this department emanating from bad governance and lack of visionary leadership and decisive leadership. What would the reason be for procuring goods and services of transaction value to amount of more than 500,000, other than to want to steal public funds through family and friends? Honourable Speaker, this is happening in the Department of Education. Despite public outcry, the department continued to violate supply chain with policies with the intention to award contracts to comrades in the ANC. The same applies to Department of Health. An irregular expenditure of amounting to 165 million was incurred during 2015 and 16 financial year, caused by not following the tender processes. What motivates such action other than creating opportunities to steal money from the poor? Furthermore, employees were paid an overtime of in excess of 30% of their monthly salaries. This is against the regulation of the public service, but for some strange reason, these anomalies occurred. Goods and services to the value of more than $500,000 were procured without inviting competitive bidders, simply by bypassing process in order to steal public resources. Honorable Speaker, we want to bring to the attention of this House that the gross and criminal activity happens not only in the Department of Health, but across all government departments and entities in order to enrich family and friends. Honorable Speaker, the Department of COXA incurred an irregular expenditure amounting to 824 million. And like other departments, ignore and violated supply chain processes, especially with regard to inviting competitive bidders. Regulations in the Department of COXA have been violated left, right, and center without any fear of consequences, because there's no consequence management in the provincial government of Limpopo. Politicians and officials do as they please, and no one is being held accountable. We are in a complete state of lawlessness. The EFF government will build a state capacity and abolish tender system in order to uproot corruption in government. The EFF, it is the only hope for people of South Africa, in particular Limpopo. I so move. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shoga.
But Honorable Speaker, I thought if you were to leave the Honorable Mate for what he said and you not call him to order, you are letting this House to jump to something else, because Honorable Mate cannot just stand and do what is just done now.
What did he do? Did he say something?
What did I do? Well?
Yeah, he just said
Honorable Mate.
What did I do?
Honorable Mate, you're not on the floor. I'm still talking to Honorable Sishoka. Honorable Shoka, what did he say?
No, he said Honorable
Mate, if you have uttered those words are unparliamentary and you must withdraw them.
Deputy Speaker, I have never said those things.
Mr. Matima has withdrawn. Honorable Mate, withdraw.
This one seems to be obsessed with me. I have never
Mate, we don't want the House to degenerate. Please, can you withdraw?
I cannot withdraw something that I've never said.
Honorable Shoka will check the answer and will make a ruling in the next sitting.
We'll appreciate if that step is taken, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thanks. We're going to have Honorable Goodwin Mutileni, and I think on behalf of the House, we must congratulate Honorable Mutileni for being elected the Deputy Chair of the Association of Public Accounts Committees. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And congratulations, Honorable Mutileni. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Let's allow him to then proceed.
No, thank you. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, honorable members of this August House. Section 195 of the Constitution of the Republic enjoins us to promote and maintain a high standard of professional ethics and to promote efficient economic and effective use of the resources. It is on this basis that the Standing Committee on Public Accounts has held the hearings for the 2 financial years in order to advance those objectives. But we did so also to pursue the objective of the National Development Plan, which is intended at building a capable state, which will comply with all of the good governance principles. Honorable Speaker, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, when it calls upon the departments to account, it is dealing basically with three issues which needs to be working together for the safekeeping of the public resources. That is people, money, and the materials. People, money, and the materials. And in the majority of cases, we have not always had a very good relationship between these three. It is either the materials that are supposed to be delivered by departments end up not being delivered by the people as expected, and money is diverted to other responsibilities. In the same way, at times, our observation is that the people who are entrusted with the responsibility may not be competent enough to be carrying out those responsibilities. I must, for the purposes of the hearing, draw the House's attention to the fact that there has been an amendment of the Public Audit Act to bring on board an element of material irregularity. This amendment was brought as a result of the fact that many departments could not act on any wrongdoing. And there was a public outcry that despite the many findings that are there is no action that is being taken. Of course, it might be appropriate to indicate that the material irregularity refers to any breach that might amount to fraud, theft, or loss of money. And therefore, the amendment empowers the Auditor General to report the people involved for an investigation by either the Hawks, the police, the SIU, and any other such body. It again empowers the Auditor General to take appropriate remedial action. And most importantly, is that in the case that there is no recovery of money, the Auditor General is empowered to issue a certificate of debt to the accounting officer, which will then instruct the executive authority to collect the debt. I am putting this because there are efforts to try and tighten the issue of the consequence management, which we found to be seriously lacking in the government of Limpopo. So this kind of an intervention becomes very, very serious. Honorable Speaker, we will need to deal with the irregularities which sometimes might even amount to corruption by following the Chinese model, where they say we must fight the tigers and flies at the same time whilst they're hunting the foxes. And in this particular case, again, on the whole challenge of the consequence management is that the departments must be in a position of acting when a very senior official and or even a politician might have transgressed, in the same way that we are determined to act when a very junior employee transgressed. But in the context of Limpopo, the one challenge that we picked as a standing committee is the fact that it is easy for an employee to commit an offense in one department and he or she is appointed in the next department or municipality or entity on the following day. And that is the context within which we talk of the hunting of the foxes. That once a person commits an offense, we must be in a position to follow that person and make sure that that person do not benefit anymore in terms of the operation of our own government, which was a weakness for quite some time. Honorable Speaker, you will realize that in the context of Limpopo, if we can be able to deal with the challenges in the Department of Health, education and the public works. In terms of the 80-20 principle, we might have dealt with almost 80% of the challenges. So those departments need to be followed up very, very strongly from time to time, and we make sure that they are able to comply. We must make sure that our departments continue to strive to improve their audit outcomes. And so far, you will know that it was only 2 departments in the province that were able to obtain a clean audit, a matter which is of grave concern to the standing committee. When you go to the municipalities, the situation is worse, actually. So those are the areas that will need to be improved. But going to the department-specific challenges, which is one area that I would need to spend some little time, Speaker, is that on the Department of Education, which is the one department that was selected by the Auditor General to pilot the implementation of the amendment of the Public Audit Act, is that there is a high level of irregular expenditure. Actually, the main reason why they were chosen, it was exactly for that reason. But we did observe also that there's a great lack of consequence management in that department. And therefore, we will call upon the department to start to work hard about these 2 areas. The Department of Health, as already indicated by Honorable Matlo, there's a greater challenge of the contingent liabilities, which are currently standing at 8 billion out of a total of 13 billion rands. And given the financial status of the province itself, you may not afford to have this kind of a contingent liability. What is worse is that already there's an example in the same department has to continue to pay for this kind of a cost as a result of the losses and so on and so forth. So it is something that we are making a strong recommendation that the Department of Health might need to be looking into that, of course, with the rest of the departments, because the issue of contingent liability might undermine the capacity of the departments to operate. The small Department of Social Development was supposed to perform better in terms of consequence management and the high level of unwanted expenditure. We feel that the department might need to be followed up very strongly on the side of the executing authority. Otherwise, small as it is, it might be one of the departments that is taking our government down in terms of the performance across the board. Costa, there has been a high level of instability at the level of the top management, the movement of staff and so on and so forth. One extreme case during the hearings was the movement of a sitting CFO to a local municipality, when in fact they need to be looking into the entirety of government. And that is an area that needs to be looked into. But of grave concern is that the department is also supposed, in terms of both the MFMA as well as the Systems Act and Chapter 3 of the Constitution, it is supposed to play a very active role in supporting and strengthening the municipality. So whilst the audit outcome of the department itself may not be bad, but the fact that we still have the disclaimers with surviving on the basis of the equitable share, it's a matter of grave concern, and we will expect that the executing authority to work very hard on that. The Office of the Premier is dealing very well in terms of its own internal issues. It's one department that can move to a clean audit at any given point in time. But the Office of the Premier, in our view, is that it is failing very badly when it comes to its transversal role. And we would expect that office, more than anything else, to be helping the rest of the departments to play their part. So is the office of the provincial treasurer, which is one of the two departments that got a clean audit. And this is why one department that was able to perform very well on a consistent basis. But once again, it fails when it comes to helping the sister departments, as well as helping the municipality and the municipal finance manager. Of concern to us as the committee is that when it comes to this particular department, there are a whole range of challenges around the annual financial statements across all. Most importantly, it is this department that they instigate and lead in terms of instituting the investigations. And the recommendations of those investigations are not being implemented in almost all of the department. What is even more concerning now that we are in the COVID challenge, Speaker, is that even the reports of the SIUs are not being implemented in some of the departments. And we would expect this particular department to play an active role in making sure that you don't just combine and or institute the investigation, but follow up very strongly around the implementation. Three departments, previous office as well as the Department of Provincial Treasury, were asked one question by the standing committee, which was around the vendor building. And our recommendation to all of them has been that whilst the municipalities acted very strongly in terms of their own officials, when it comes to the officials that are appointed by the department who were deployed in one of the municipalities to go and save that municipality, and they ended up investing money in the VBS. The penalty that was meted out for those employees is not commensurate with the offense that they committed. And we are calling upon the Department of Provincial Treasury, therefore, to go and review that. The Department of Community Safety, for the 2018-2019 financial year, it obtained a clean audit, and therefore we can encourage the department just to maintain the standard. The executing authority for the Department of Transport will be expected within the next 6 months to report to this House around the progress on the implementation of the SIU report, which could not be presented to the previous executing authority until we forced the department during the hearing that they must be able to present that report. And even during our engagement, there was a strong insistence that the report of the SIU is in fact not a final report, but a draft. And when we inquired and insisted that we needed to get that draft, we found that it is a final report, but it is going through all manner of this tactics to deny the implementation of that report. So we would expect in the next 6 months that the executing authority responsible for this department will be coming to the House to report around the implementation of this report. And that also applies with the rest of the departments around the investigations that were conducted. How far are we in terms of the implementation of the report? The Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, again, is a challenge of consequence management where junior employees are sacrificed when the people who have committed the offenses are found at the top level. Hence, I started by giving the Chinese model of dealing with both the tigers and the flies and going around to hunt the foxes. So in that particular department, it is easy to deal with the most junior employee because he or she may not necessarily have the requisite powers nor the recourse. And we would expect over the coming 6 months, the executing authority responsible to implement the recommendations that are being put forward, but most importantly, deal with the issues that were pegged during our last hearing. Otherwise, even as we go to the next financial year, we will not close that chapter for as long as that part is not resolved. Honorable Speaker, the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure is the only department that we could not engage with and finalize. So even the recommendations that you are seeing there have been compiled by the standing committee without the full engagement of the department. And our observation is that there is a serious leadership challenge in that department, and we call upon the executing authority to start to implement and stamp down his foot, particularly on the administrative component. Public finance management is
you're left with 2 minutes. Eh?
No, it's fine. I am also about to conclude, by the way. The Public Finance Management Act is very clear as to who should take the responsibility in terms of Section 38 of that Act. And our impression in trying to engage with the department at that particular point in time, we did not find any commitment on the part of the accounting officer to implement. And we are aware that he is under suspension at the moment, but we would expect that the executing authority will try and stamp authority to the accounting officer who might be acting now, but also most importantly, when the accounting officer proper comes back. Otherwise, there is a serious leadership challenge in that particular department. And there are major challenges around the management of the public accounts generally. Hence, there is a stalling of a number of projects that were supposed to be benefiting the people of Limpopo. The last department, which is LIDED, our observation is that there is serious instability at the level of the CFO and supply chain management for the 2 years under review. And our view is that sometimes that might be done deliberately. There will be all manner of reasons that were given around why the CFO was changed for one reason or another. But the standing committee is not convinced because, as I mentioned at the beginning, that our work is to analyze the relationship between people, money, and the materials. The person who is at the center of making sure that that balance is realized is a CFO and the finance division. So when you destabilize that division from time to time, you then weaken the entirety of the system and make sure that we are unable to execute our mandate. We were dealing with 2 financial years. One major disappointment that we found is that the departments are not coming back to the house to report. And I'm getting a sense that there's a commitment to do that. We will be expecting that from now henceforth up until the full implementation of all the resolutions from 2014-15, 2015-16, 2017-18, 2018-2019, until when we go to the next set of the hearings. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutileng. We will then proceed to the reports of 2019 and have that debate. We'll give then the members of the Executive Council after that debate an opportunity to give their comments, progress report on the SCOPA reports and resolutions. Can I then have, I see there's a hand up, is that Honorable Munyamane? There's a hand up.
Honorable Makamo.
Oh, Honorable Makamo. Maybe forgot, just raised it. All right, let's proceed. Honorable Rudolph Pala.
Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to debate the SCOPA reports as tabled in the provincial legislature by the Honorable the Chairperson. We, on my own behalf, I say happy birthday to Honorable Saramunyamane and Honorable Lillian Manaka. We wish you all the best in celebrating your day and adding another year to your life, and all the success in this life. Thanks very much. We hope we'll be invited for tea and some drinks. We also say congratulations to Honorable Wisani Goodman Mutileni for his election to be the Deputy Chairperson of the Association of Public Accounts Committees in South Africa, which is a body of all the standing committees on public accounts in the 10 parliaments in the Republic of South Africa. And we hope he will serve the people of our province and country well in that responsibility. Honorable Speaker, the job of a member of the parliament and a provincial legislature can be categorized into 3 categories. Is the job of making laws, is the job of public participation, and is the job of oversight. And that job of oversight includes visiting sites to see progress in the work that the government is doing, but it also includes calling the government departments and heads of department and MECs to come and explain some of the work that they are doing in the departments. So the work of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts is part of that difficult work of oversight. And we're today discussing this many reports after lengthy and difficult public hearings that the Standing Committee on Public Accounts held with departments and entities in our province. And today is essentially a report back session by the Standing Committee on Public Accounts to the provincial legislature on the work we have done in the previous months in calling departments and entities to come and account on the various financial years. And some of the things that we found in those public hearings are that, and as the honorable members have already said, Honorable Mutileni and Honorable Matlo, that one of the challenges we have is responding to resolutions of the House from as late as 2014-15, 2015-16, and 2016-17. No single MEC has ever come to the House to table progress report of those resolutions of the House. And all MECs and the Premier are therefore in contravention of the House resolutions from 2014 to this day. And to that extent, there's a committee who are very disappointed. And that is why in all the hearings, we start with that question of progress report of implementation of House resolutions and why it has not been done. Because that is a contravention by members of this House of a resolutions of this Honorable House. And part of what we found, as Honorable Matlo has said, is repeat audit findings by the Auditor General, which is very difficult because year after year, the Auditor General reports saying things. And part of the reason is precisely because there is no progress report to the House on what progress has been made in implementing the resolutions that the House has made. And also that you find that no consequence management is implemented against officials that are responsible for the mess, as required by Section 38
of the Public Finance Management Act, because it is that law that on the basis of which we hold public hearings, amongst others, that says once there has been a financial transgression, action must be taken by the accounting officer and the people responsible so that the situation is turned around. Another thing we found is where chief financial officers are moved sideways to other sections and other people are brought in, and more wrong things happen in the department. And this we've seen in a number of departments, including agriculture and sports, art and culture, and LEADED and others. We've also seen a situation where in some departments, invoices are not paid within 30 days as required by the Public Finance Management Act and in its contravention, which leads to many challenges. And many departments have an inadequate audit action plan, as the Auditor General requires that part of responding to audit challenges is to have a very qualitative audit action plan that responds to the challenges that are there in the department. But in most departments and entities, you'll find that the audit action plan that is there is not worth the paper it is written on, is very porous and very inadequate. And also you'll find that no effective and appropriate disciplinary steps are taken against negligent officials. So officials, as Honorable Matlo has said, commit same offense year after year after year after year, and nothing happens to them as required by Public Finance Management Act. And that is why the audit outcomes for those 2 financial years we are dealing with, 2017-18 and the financial year 2018-19, both of us indicate that the provincial government of Limpopo was amongst the worst performing provincial governments in the Republic of South Africa in relation to audit outcomes. It was at the same level, just above the Northwest and the Free State, as one of those two being the worst performing provincial governments in relation to audit outcomes, and Limpopo was coming next to them because of this. And some of the things we found, which we will follow up probably in the coming hearings, which are things that are still being followed up, is the fact that there is a 13 billion contingent liabilities on the head of the provincial government, 8 billion of which is in the Department of Health. And the challenge is that if this contingent liability is realized, where will the provincial government get the money to pay the various categories of people who need to be paid? One of the issues that will still follow up in the next hearings and see what action is being taken is in relation to the Dubat land, where a land worth 8 million was sold by the provincial government, was bought by the provincial government for 132 million, which is a scandal. You can't buy a land that is worth 8 million for 132 million. And it's a matter that we are following up to see what the action is being taken on various officials that are responsible for this loss of state money. And also we are following up where a number of officials in many departments, as Honorable Matlo has said, are doing remunerative work outside the public service and they don't even declare. And we want that to be followed up by heads of departments and MECs so that this thing is dealt with. We found also in the Department of Agriculture that 88 newly bought computers just got lost, got stolen, and no one knows where they are. And it's a matter we are following up, or how can a thing like that happen, where not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 88 newly bought computers just disappear and get stolen. But there are people who are responsible for security and people responsible for ensuring that things of the state do not get lost like that. We're also following up still. We'll follow up in the next hearing to see progress of allegations of broadband maladministration and corruption in the Premier's office of 500 million, which was reported widely in the media by someone calling himself a whistleblower. We will follow that up to see how far that is and what action is being taken. And if there is no smoke without fire, we will see how far that ends and what actually caused that official to go out to media and issue statements and so on, which was all over. We're also following up in the Department of Social Development the fact that the provincial government built a one-stop center on what a particular individual claims to be his own private land in Pashas Lotule. How can a provincial government spend hundreds of millions of rands on a one-stop center on what someone claims to be his own land? So we're following that up so that indeed it's not a private land.
You're left with 2 minutes.
That is fine. We're following up the RAL over expenditure where they spent 3.5 billion in contravention of a conditional grant for road maintenance and road upgrading, where they took money for road maintenance and used it for road upgrading for the value of 3.5 billion rand. We're following that up to see how far that goes, because that's one of the challenges. We're following up also the progress in relation to tightening the oversight over municipalities by provincial treasury, the Premier's office and Coxstar, because it is in this period that we are dealing with that municipalities in the province deposited irregularly and illegally in contravention of Municipal Finance Management Act 1.2 billion into a mutual institution called VBS, and we're following that up whether the provincial government has tightened its oversight over municipalities, because the people of this province have lost 1.2 billion that was due for service delivery when that bank collapsed. We're following up on the 200 million that the provincial government is spending every year on rent, on paying rent to various categories of landlords, which money should be useful for service delivery if we own the building. We're following up on Sikukune, that the people must have district offices in Sikukune, not in Capricorn. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Smiley. Honorable Smiley. Is Honorable Smiley there? Honorable Shoka, you said you'll be representing Honorable Butane.
I think Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
I think Honorable Manaka is the one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Honorable Manaka. You see the obsession. You see the obsession.
Yeah, out of order, Honorable Mat. Honorable Manaka. She's not there. Honorable Smiley, Honorable Manaka, are they not available?
Chair, it's Honorable Marad.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker has advised me that he had to do just one speech that was combined, and he has done his speech, but he's actually off for a very urgent meeting that's conflicted with this time.
Okay. Honorable Manaka.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
I also seems to be failing to get hold of Honorable Managa. I propose that we move on.
Honorable Makrupeche, your time starts now. Your 12 minutes starts now.
Okay, Deputy Speaker, I thought you were going to give me the minutes for Honorable Managa and Honorable Swell, so hard luck.
No.
That is on a letter note. Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, MECs, Leader of Government Business, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, all members of the legislature, let me take this opportunity to thank those that have given me this opportunity to make this debate. Deputy Speaker, the SCOPA committee, before I proceed, let me congratulate my chairperson on his appointment. Chairperson, we thank you, we congratulate you for being the deputy chairperson of APEC, and happy birthday to the honorable members who are whose their days today. Deputy Speaker, the SCOPA committee has met in a hectic schedule, and the committee want to take this opportunity to thank the Premier and all MECs who were able to present themselves to SCOPA as requested. Honorable Premier, it is the view of the committee that this year's, the 2 years under review, which is 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, it is a major concern that there was no consequence management. And even where they try to show consequence management, you see it's only for compliance purposes. Therefore, that's why all members are raising this matter to say, we hope these reports are not for the sake of presenting to the legislature. These reports are meant to guide all the departments in terms of how they're supposed to be taking their work forward. Therefore, we'll expect executive authorities to really take these reports very serious, because our own government will not be able to provide effective and efficient service delivery if some of these anomalies are not be able to be dealt with. Let me focus on the few areas. For example, I will start with the Office of the Premier, Deputy Speaker. The committee is worried about non-achievement of the planned targets. The committee has heard and considered evidence that Office of the Premier has failed to achieve planned targets for the year indicated below. On page 16 of the annual report, the average vacancy rate, for example, it shows it was at 13%. The target was underachieved by 3.8%. So I will not mention all of them, but it shows that in all the departments, most of the targets were not achieved. So if Office of the Premier is one of the departments that is supposed to monitor other departments, but they are unable to achieve their own planned targets, then it's a worrying factor that needs to be attended to. The committee recommends that the Office of the Premier, in collaboration with Provincial Treasury, must fill critical positions in all the departments in the Limpopo administration as a matter of urgency, and we expect the report to be presented to the legislature within 6 months, every 6 months, with effect from the 31st October 2020. Secondly, under Office of the Premier, there was a concern in terms of procurement and contract management. The committee has heard and considered evidence that some of the invitations for competitive bidding were not advertised for the required minimum period as required by Treasury regulations. The same thing, Honorable Premier, worries us that if Office of the Premier is unable to follow procurement legislation and as well as contract management, that is a worrying factor. And we therefore, the committee recommends that the accounting officer must take appropriate action against responsible officials failing to advertise invitations for competitive bidding for the required minimum period as required by the Treasury regulations. And therefore, executive authority must brief the House on progress made every 6 months on the implementation. Department of Agriculture were more worried that this is one of the smallest department, but the committee has heard and considered evidence that irregular expenditure of amounting 57 million was incurred as proper supply chain management process have not been followed. The committee has further considered evidence that steps were not taken to prevent this irregular expenditure, and as well, further the committee has considered evidence that in some instances, persons in service of the department whose close family members, partners, and associates had private or business interest in contracts awarded by the department and failed to disclose such interest. And the committee as well has heard that no action was taken against anyone on this matter. Therefore, the committee says the accounting officer must conduct investigation on the irregular expenditure of 57 million incurred and recover the loss, because if we don't recover the loss, the government will continue to lose money when it is not necessary for that to happen. And therefore, the committee as well recommends that accounting officer must take appropriate action against all officials and their partners who did business with the department without disclosing such interest, and the accounting officer must recover all the money owed to such officials as a result of tender awarded to them. The executive authority must brief the House on progress made every 6 months on the implementation of the resolution, which is effective from 31st October 2020. Internal control and deficiencies. This Department of Agriculture as well, the committee has heard that there is considered the evidence that the management did not adequately review the financial statements and annual performance report before submitting for auditing. On paragraph 34, the department did not hold performance management meetings and reporting staff accountable for shortcomings identified in the internal and external audit processes. Honorable Premier, Deputy Speaker, our worry is once you have internal control deficiencies, then it means our systems are subjected to manipulation and other areas where people can be able as they wish. Therefore, this needs some urgent attention. In the Department of Education, we have observed the committee has heard in terms of the immovable and movable tangible assets. The committee has heard and considered evidence that the department did not recognize all items in terms of immovable capital asset in accordance with the MCS Chapter 1 capital assets. The department incorrectly recognized immovable assets, capital asset, which has been completed as capital work in progress in Note 131 to the financial statements. Consequently, immovable tangible assets are understated by 3,748,249,178, and capital work in progress in Note 31.3 is overstated by the same amount. As disclosed on Honorable
Can you have order, man? Facebook. Can you switch off your phone? Can you, Honorable Mato? Can you mute your mic? Thank you. Then proceed, Honorable.
Okay. Consequently, the immovable tangible capital assets are underestimated by 3,748,249,178, and capital work in progress in Note 31.3 is overstated by the same amount. As disclosed in Note 41, the financial statements immovable tangible capital assets of 2,596,669,000 is under investigation due to process to dispose the deteriorated assets and transfer completed projects to the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, mobile classrooms, which were identified to be in poor condition, and capital expenditure that still need to be allocated to the affected assets. The committee recommended that the department should request Provincial Treasury to train all employees who deal with immovable assets, tangible capital asset as a matter of agency, so that the officials could address these anomalies and prevent future recurrence. And therefore, committee recommends that the department should establish a dedicated unit dealing with the assets in an endeavor to address the anomalies. The executive authority must brief the House on the progress every 6 months, starting 31st October. As well, the Department of Education were worried about exceptional litigation that the committee has had that and considered evidence that the department is defended in several claims against the state. The department is opposing these claims as it believes there are reasonable grounds to defend the claims. The ultimate outcome on the matters cannot presently be determined, and no provision or liability has been disclosed in the annual financial statements. The committee recommends that accounting officer must develop a proactive plan to reduce and possibly eliminate all potential contingent liabilities, and the executive authority must report accordingly. Again, Department of Social Development, Deputy Speaker, we are worried as well about the irregular expenditure, that this is amongst the smallest department as well, where committee has heard of the considered evidence of irregular expenditure of 46,451,000 that was incurred in the previous years, which is under investigation. Honorable Premier and the Deputy Speaker, our worry is departments investigate indefinite. We are therefore saying as the committee, you can't have indefinite investigations and no action is taken against the report. Either the investigations are indefinite, when the investigations are concluded, the reports are put under the carpet. Some of them continue to gather dust without proper implementation. Department of Health as well, the committee has had...
left 2 minutes.
You're really confusing me.
Yeah, left with 2 minutes. I'm not confusing you.
Yeah, Department of Health as well are worried about their immovable assets of 186 billion that is not being accounted for, as well as which were not correctly captured in the annual financial statements. As well, the Department of Health, the litigation, that's the same as the Department of Education, where the litigation is a problem. Public Works, the regular expenditure, the committee has heard that considered evidence the department contravened the requirements of Section 17 of the Division of Revenue Act. And this must be attended to as a matter of agency. And the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, they've got challenges of immovable assets as well. And lastly, the LEADED, where they've got a problem of achieving their plans target. What happens in LEADED? The problem is when they don't achieve their own targets, some serious challenges affect their own agencies. So although today we're not dealing with agencies, but it means when they don't achieve their own targets, it means that has got serious negative impact on the work that is done by and the monitoring of the own agencies. And lastly, Deputy Speaker, we're saying as the committee, we have given an overview of the work that is being done by the provincial government. Our hope is indeed the provincial government will be able to implement the recommendations for the people of Limpopo to benefit in terms of the service delivery that is expected of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that debate. We've come to the end of the debate, and we'll then go to request members of the Executive Council who are available to...
Deputy Honorable Speaker?
Yes?
It's Honorable Managa. I had a problem with my connection with the MacBook, but I'm now sorted. Can I request the time?
Can you check whose mic is on? There's some people at the back. around that are making noise and interrupting the process.
The MP Honorable Managa's mic.
Honorable Managa.
Deputy Speaker.
There seems to be people in the background.
Can I go on with my?
Yes. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and my apology for not being available the time that you were calling me. Honorable Speaker, the EFF in Limpopo condemns continuation of stagnant audit outcomes which have become part of the organizational culture at the Office of the Premier. Noting that since 2015 to date, there were a number of matters of emphasis by the AG with unqualified audit opinions. The office is yet to show any signs of aligning to acceptable accounting practices which can remedy the situation. It will be adventurous of this august House to expect other departments to comply with audit findings when the highest office in the province has not been moved by all the audit opinions for over 5 years, whilst people are being paid millions of rands for doing nothing. Honorable Deputy Speaker, where is the clear plan and strategy as it was recommended by the AG as a route towards obtaining the clean audit? Limpopo continues to be an autopilot with no leadership. Almost 20,000 funded posts have not been filled, yet our people continue to live in abject poverty. We hope these posts are not waiting ANC conference to appease your comrades in return of factional votes. The EFF demands immediate action and consequence management on all officials who have not cooperated with the AG and those who have failed to provide appropriate audit evidence on provisions of current and previous financial years. Such harsh measures will deter any future abuse of public funds and undermining of accounting processes. Departments like education should be prioritized on this matter, noting failure to record commitment costs in accordance with MCS Chapter 14. The Department of Education continue to swim in the pool of irregular expenditure undeterred. In contravention of supply chain, management requirements an amount of 1.6 billion of irregular expenditure since 2017-2019. No action was taken on irresponsible officials. The Department of Education, Deputy Speaker, just like the Department of Health, ought not to waste taxpayers' monies on opposing litigations, even on matters which are clear state negligence. The EFF government will put more emphasis on building state capacity, which will save money being spent on consultants, even when there is no positive outcome, and ensures that the deliverables and targets are being met timeously by the state, as currently all departments fail to meet their targets. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we need a concrete report on what measures have been taken against the CFO and the HOD of Department of Agriculture on the restatement of corresponding figures for 2018 March and 2019, alleging that it was an error. Such misconduct warrants immediate action. The EFF notes that the restatement of corresponding figures has become a norm, even in the previous financial years, as shown with LIDET. Similarly, decisive action must be taken immediately against all implicated. The level of corruption at LIDET is at worrying levels, where officials deliberately flout SCM regulations, including splitting of transactions above 500,000 to avoid competitive bidding as required by Treasury Regulation 16A. 6.1, lack of action has normalized corruption in this institution. Honorable Deputy Speaker, it is clear that there are no financial management systems in the Department of Health. It's no surprise that allegations of favoritism and nepotism always resurfaces in this department. It is no surprise that even the PPEs and other projects which were awarded during COVID-19 period are clouded with secrecy and unexplainable processes. There are no internal control systems in asset management to prevent the recurring qualification on the assets. Lack of acceptable financial systems would ensure that Health Department disclosures correct amounts of accrued departmental revenue in the financial statement. The ANC-led government should be ashamed of the level of irregular expenditures in the whole province. RAL has contravened Section 17 of Division of Revenue Act by not recording and being unable to explain why they misled AG on the irregular expenditure of 154,341 million and in 2018 830,644 million. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, Limpopo has turned into paradise for those who enjoy undermining credible government regulation, and such people are complacent to a level of ignoring implementation of Auditor General recommendations. Coxstar is leading in that division of undermining recommendations of Chapter 9 institutions. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Managa, for participating in the debate and for coming in. We'll come to the end of the debate. We will then give the opportunity to members of the Executive Council to then come in on response to the reports and also progress on the implementation. Honorable Premier, I see your hand is up, Honorable Premier. The floor is yours. Your mic is mute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying that I just hope my network is not going to disappoint me again. Honorable Speaker, you know, this government has got procedures, processes, and democratic means of making the executive to account. But it can be the legislature that says to the executive, you must organize us to make you to account. That cannot be acceptable. The legislature, the executive doesn't decide upon the programming of the processes within the legislature. Programming is done by the legislature and the Speaker's office. So if you don't give us time or you don't invite us to come and account, why should you come back and ask for not coming back? So what the programming committee was supposed to do is to ensure that the executive presents on the resolutions of SCOPA on a periodic manner, periodically. So it can be that we come here and we are lambasted and ambushed, told that we have not accounted, and you know, as the legislature, that for several times, the office of the Premier via the Director General has been communicating, including the parliamentary liaison. They've been liaising with the office of the Speaker on these matters. You know? At some stage, you are supposed to come here It was just before the COVID-19 lockdown started, where we deliberated on this issue, the processes of accounting. So it's, you come here into the legislature, you portray us as if we don't want to come and account. It can't be right. You know, Honorable Speaker, sometimes I tend to ask myself a very fundamental question as to who is in the opposition benches here. But let me not bog you down on that one, because it's my problem, that one. It does not even meet this legislature, Honorable Speaker. But that's a fundamental question that I'm always asking myself. Honorable Speaker, let me start with what the chairperson of SCOPA was saying on the issue of the Premier's office failing in its transversal function. Honorable Speaker, I think we must be realistic and understand the dynamics within the provincial government and where this provincial government comes from up till to date. And where are we to date when it comes to this function, the transversal function that we're talking about? If we are failing, we wouldn't have reached the heights that we have reached currently. I want to request or challenge you, Honorable Speaker, and the House to please make time for this executive, all departments, this executive to come and account on a period of time. What you are saying was a regression. I am arguing that it's in fact a progression. We actually progressed radically from where we used to be as compared to what we used to be in the past. Remember, Honorable Speaker, in the past, we were not accounting on performance. We were only accounting on financials. That is why when we took over in 2014, we started by, Honorable Makrupecha is aware of this, we started by dealing with the backlog, starting from 2005. When we were doing oversight in areas such as Vembe, I remember arriving in a certain area, an old lady had a tent on a slab that was left in 2009, a foundation. And according to the documents of government, those foundations were actually houses. And we had to deal with that mess together with the administrators. And if you are counting on financials only, then you have spent money, you go, you give the Auditor General documents, and you get a clean audit. But once you do inspection on local, those houses are not there. We have done that. We have dealt with, RAL is today in a very serious problem of financial overheat, Honorable Speaker, because we have had to start with the backlog dealing with Bermuda roads that were left to us by the previous administration. And these Bermuda roads, if you looked at the documents, you would say, these roads have been completed. And if you were auditing financials like it was happening before, currently the Auditor General is no longer only auditing financials, it's also auditing performance. That is why, if you can reverse and go back and bring those clean audits that people are talking about of the previous administrations and the like, they will turn into something else. So, Chairperson of SCOPA, I want to say to you, Honorable Chairperson, that what you say we are failing to do, we have actually improved it radically. When we took over, there were actually no systems. We had to put in place systems. That is why you see at least the two departments, the Department of the Premier's Office and the Department of Treasury, are actually in the position to can safely say we are ready to can get a clean audit anytime. Because when you go to the Premier's Office, you realize that the Premier's Office could not get a clean audit simply because of either one or so finding. Unlike what Honorable Managa is saying, I don't know where she gets her statistics. It will either be one item or so, but throughout it gets unqualified audit, and it's not based on financials. It was only based on financials on the year that Honorable Makurupet is talking about, where it was said we did not advertise for the required prescribed period by statutes. And when you revisit the same item, Honorable Makurupet, we did advertise for the relevant 21 days. Twice, we could not find a supply. Until we went for the third time, and the law allows us to do so. That's where we had a difference with the Auditor General. The law, and we do have a legal opinion that supports us when it comes to that. That for the third time, we advertise for a shorter period. And the regulations allows us to do so. But the Auditor General has got a different opinion. It's not like we just started and went out and advertised for a shorter period. So it can be said that it was a way of being bringing malfeasance into the finances of the department. No. You know, sometimes you listen to honorable members speaking, honorable speaker. You then say, but this is just sensationalization. It's hearsay. It's based on perceptions, basically. We are just politicking within the legislature, you know, on very critical and very important matters. I don't want to take a lot of your time, Honorable Speaker, but I want to make an appeal that perhaps give us time. Come and present to this legislature. Honorable members are raising. And I can rest assure you that we will be able to clarify the legislature on all these matters that you are talking about. I think I did respond to Honorable Shoka. Unqualified audits. You know, if you look, Honorable Shoka, if you look at this unqualified audits that you are saying are stagnant, I heard Honorable Managa was saying that also. Look at the number of findings that the Auditor General is finding. You'll realize that they've declined drastically. Even in those departments that has been qualified, you go to the Department of Education, which for a very long time, it has never got out of a disclaimer audit opinion. Currently is unqualified, and it has reduced the findings drastically with something like 80%. The findings that it used to get from the Auditor General. If that is not improvement, Honorable Speaker, I don't know what is improvement. The Department of Health, the same thing. You don't have even a single government department today which has a disclaimer audit opinion. But at some stage, you would find that about 6 or 7 government departments are under disclaimer audit opinion. If that is not an improvement, I don't know what is improvement then. The Auditor General himself, when he was auditing municipality, he said he reported, Clarence Makwetu, that Limpopo is making improvement in the right direction. I'm not quoting him verbatim, but that is what the Auditor General was saying. It is making progress in the right direction. So if we are saying there is no improvement, when even the Auditor General is seeing improvement, I don't know what we are talking about. Well, the ratings of Honorable Pala, that's your political view, that's your political opinion. I don't agree with you, but I can't be expected to respond to that. Honorable Speaker, like I said, let's come and report, more especially on issues of consequence management. It's easy to say there is no consequence management if you don't have information. Please allow us to come back and report on these issues. Unlike being ambushed, like I was told this morning that I'm supposed to come and present SCOPA resolutions. I am told my office was notified yesterday. I said, no, we can't work like that. Give us ample time to prepare for this legislature because we respect this legislature. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Mtileng, is that one point are you raising?
No, Speaker, I wanted your guidance because I took it that when the members of the executive come, they will be presenting the progress report, and the request by the Premier makes a lot of sense. But I'm afraid if we are to open for the members to start to engage on things that were said today, we may not achieve the intended objective because the standing committee had sufficient time for the 2 financial years based on the annual report and the report of the Auditor General on all of the departments, going into greater details. And there are firm recommendations that are being put forward by the standing committee. But our expectation will the departments will be speaking on the progress report. And correctly, like the Premier is saying, when they are not prepared, they come.
Honorable Chairperson.
Thanks.
That was the intention, and I think we must clarify this point that when the decision to have this sitting was taken, the executive was informed through the normal channels. We briefed the leader of government business, and we hope that that information has been transmitted. If not, we apologize, but we did what we could do. But we had expected members of the Executive Council to give us progress reports as well on the resolution of SCOPA, so that we are able to deal with that. If members of the Executive Council are not ready, then we can schedule it to only be for members of the Executive Council to give us that progress report, if members agree to that, so that we don't have a sitting or a session where members were not ready to give us the progress reports. Now, the proposal by the Premier, I think it's valid. We might have, as the head of the Executive Council, we might take it and agree that let's have a session where we'll have MEC especially presenting the progress reports. And if members agree, we can then end this session there. Honorable Chief Whip. Did I see your hand up, Honorable Chief Whip? Is it Honorable Matlo? Honorable Matlo, your hand is up?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
We are only discussing the proposal that the Premier has put forward.
Yes.
Let's have a special session where we can have MECs and Executive Council giving progress reports.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I agree with your submission that if really the information in relation to honorable members of the Executive Council were not briefed on time, or the honorable Premier didn't get the information on time, I agree with your submission that we can have another day because ourselves as SCOPA, we had enough time to discuss the recommendations that we have put forth.
Anyone who agrees with that? Who else agrees? Honorable Mdaga? Let's take Honorable Sishoka.
No, thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think I just tend to agree to say let's give them times and let's avail ourselves for that sitting. I think that's the only progressive way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's quite clear that we
Honorable Speaker.
No. Unless you want to say we should proceed. You don't agree with the proposal that we should have a special sitting. Honorable Makrupej, unless you want to say you don't agree with the proposal that we should have a special sitting.
Deputy Speaker, I do agree, but I wanted to say a smaller thing that might have created a... Okay. Because I thought if I say it...
No, honorable member. Otherwise, if we do that, every honorable member will want to do the same. We are discussing whether we should defer the presentation by the MECs, Executive Council, as the Premier has stated, to a special sitting. And already we've got members who have agreed to that. If there's anyone who's objecting to that, can raise a hand. That's the only thing we're talking about. Why are the hands up? Honorable Squatty?
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. It was up when I wanted to support what the Honorable Premier had said, because I think the matter has been long on the table and we could not decide as to how we are going to be dealing with the progress report, and you know it very well.
No,
but secondly, the fact that the committee, the House is actually raising issues now and they are giving recommendations.
We're now getting out of order. We want people who are supporting that we move the presentations on the progress reports to the next sitting. If there's anybody you have supported it. If there's anybody who's opposed to that, can they raise their hands? If none, we're going to adjourn this sitting to the next possible date that will be communicated to the members of the legislature. And on that note, we want to again congratulate Honorable Mutile for being appointed Deputy Chair of the Association of Public Accounts Committee, and our best wishes to Honorable Mnyamane and Honorable Managa on their birthdays. May God bless you and keep you and give you more of these days. On that note, the House is adjourned until further notice. Thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker.
Congratulations, Honorable Congratulations.
Amen.
Honorable Speaker. All right.
Birthday to you.
Honorable Speaker.